911.
Thank you so much for letting us into your homes. We are grateful. The Beat with Melissa Murray and for Ari starts right now. Hi there, my friend. Have a good show.
Thank you, Nicole. Welcome to The Beat. I'm Melissa Murray in for Ari Melber. And we start tonight with a major loss for Donald Trump. MS Now can report tonight that the Trump administration plans to abandon its highly controversial $1.8 billion slush fund. This news comes from a senior White House official. Axios was the first to report the story, citing two senior administration officials. One of them told Axios, quote, "It's dead for now." In a tweet, the Trump DOJ attributed the about face to a recent court ruling temporarily blocking the fund. The tweet explains that although the department, quote, disagrees strongly with the court decision that under no circumstances may the DOJ proceed with the fund, the department will abide by the court's ruling. We should emphasize that the tweet was a bit misleading. The court ruling, which was issued last Friday, temporarily blocked the fund while a case challenging it played out in the court. It was not a decision on the fund's merits. MS Now can also report tonight that Speaker Mike Johnson's meeting with Trump today played a key role in the decision to abandon the fund. A source told MS Now that Johnson helped convince Trump to drop the fund in order to create a path forward for ICE and Border Patrol funding legislation in the Senate. Earlier today, Politico reported that this abrupt shift was in the offing. Its reporting noted that the Republicans' agenda was in limbo as their immigration enforcement bill remained stalled because of concerns with the fund. Politico reported, quote, Senate Republicans delayed passage of the immigration package last month as a critical mass of their members were prepared to support Senate Democrats' amendments to narrow or nix the Justice Department's fund. Well, that pressure on Trump seemingly worked. The slush fund criticism was a rare instance of bipartisan backlash. Even Trump's former vice president called the fund offensive. Take a look.
Let's get rid of this fund. I mean, it's deeply offensive to me that you could have a fund that could even possibly compensate people who assaulted police officers or vandalized the Capitol on January 6th. And I think that's broadly held by most Republicans and most Americans.
Most Americans is right. Democrats were preparing to fight back. Senate Democrats had 3 bills in the works, which would divert the money to other programs, as well as a standalone bill to block the fund and prevent payouts. One senator even raised the prospect of impeachment. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer today said he will still force a vote to block the fund. Quote, if Trump and Republicans are truly abandoning this corrupt scheme, they should have zero problem banning it in law. This week, Senate Democrats will push legislation to ban this slush fund and ensure no president can ever do this again. Trump's word is nowhere near enough. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Maya Wiley, former SDNY civil prosecutor and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. As well with us is Molly Jong-Fast, contributing writer with the New York Times, MS Now political analyst, and host of the Fast Politics podcast. Maya, let's start with you. What is your reaction to the news that the administration, which was so hot to trot over this fund, is now abandoning it?
Well, my reaction is there's nothing normal about anything that just happened here. And we really need to understand what a federal judge said about this settlement that was one that potentially was hidden from the court. Because remember, it's the slush fund. It's the fact that it was $1.8 trillion for potentially convicted felons that Donald Trump pardoned with taxpayer dollars, but it's also our Department of Justice. And the reason I'm pointing to that Florida court, that judge saying, I'm going to reopen this under Rule 11. And as you and I know, Rule 11 is, y'all did some things I think you were not allowed to do.
Yeah.
And I can look at this because I have 35 former judges that told me I should, because it looks like y'all may have colluded to do something that essentially is going to protect Donald Trump as if he can be above the law. So when you push all this together, it's bad for everyone, but it's so not normal, and we should be upset about it.
So I think that's a great point. None of this was above board in a lot of ways. Like the initial lawsuit where the president was on both sides of the V, the motion to dismiss it with prejudice, and then not telling the court that there was a settlement in the offing. And then once it was dismissed with prejudice, the settlement comes to light, and it is this $1.8 billion slush fund. But Molly, what do you make of the politics around this? So, the judge has done a legal thing, reopened this under Rule 60 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, which the court is entitled to do. But a lot of this seemed to be about political pressure as well. So can you say more about that? What's going on here?
Well, so when I was reading the reporting about it this weekend and I saw Boris Epshteyn was mentioned as the architect of this whole thing, I thought, oh, it's dead. I thought the fact that they're putting it to one person shows already that people are trying to distance themselves from it. And, it's so important. We've been covering Trump World for such a long time. You can almost read who is leaking to who and what they're trying to get away from. And you could just see they were trying to distance themselves from this almost immediately. And there's a reason for that, which was last week we saw this YOLO caucus, the You Only Live Once caucus. And these are, the Wall Street Journal had an article about this. And
no, I saw it.
Yeah, the YOLO caucus. And in it are the two senators who lost their seats, lost their primaries because of Trump. Cornyn and Cassidy.
Yeah.
And then in that also is Tillis and Collins and Murkowski. And so the idea is these people all got sent home last week because
they've got nothing less to lose.
Right. And Thune saw that he had lost the caucus, and that was like this Mike Johnson move. So here's what I would say. I think that it's really clearly very unpopular. And again, I think it would be a mistake to think that these people are doing this because they've been like, this is too much morally, this is wrong. I think they've seen the polling on this and they see that it's not popular and it's not a hill they want to die on. What I do think is really smart of Democrats is to try to ban it because the idea of taking this administration at their word is almost always a mistake.
Well, so I want to talk with you about that, Maya. The DOJ says that they were going to abide by this ruling. It was a temporary ruling. Ostensibly, because the fund has been abandoned, that would suggest that the legal matter is now moot, or does it? Right? Is this something that can be resurrected, like some kind of zombie fund that keeps coming back?
Sure, of course. That's the point why it is so important to understand how not normal this is, and why it's important that, to Molly's point, Democrats are continuing to push the issue and trying to force Republicans to take a position, including whether or not they'll actually agree that this should never be done by any president, anywhere, anytime. I think the other thing that's important to note is the other side of this is that Donald Trump has negotiated with himself to essentially never have to face any investigation or potential penalty from the Internal Revenue Service or his family.